Welcome to 21st Sports, and we're talking the Carolina Panthers at the Atlanta Falcons in their Week 4 matchup played October 2nd, 2016. And what a crazy game this was. The Falcons were pretty dominant throughout the game. Carolina made a late push, but it wouldn't be enough, and the Panthers were definitely missing Josh Norman as Julio Jones just lit him up as he had a huge game, and that's with a capital H, capital U, capital G, capital E, as he had 300 yards receiving for Julio Jones, and the Falcons almost scored 50 points as they put up 48 on the board. But it all started off with Matt Ryan hooking up to Jacob Tamme, the tight end, for a 4-yard touchdown. That put Atlanta up 7-0 as they put the first points on the scoreboard. Then right before the end of the first quarter, Devonta Freeman put it in the end zone with a 13-yard touchdown run to make it 14-0 Atlanta over Carolina. So the Falcons jumping out to that early lead with a pair of touchdowns as they were scoring in spurts. But here in the second quarter, the Carolina Panthers would finally get on the board with a pick six. Kurt Coleman running it back 8 yards for the touchdown, as it was actually swatted there at the line, I believe by Johnson, got a hand on it. Coleman came down with it, and he put it in the end zone. 4-6 points. Graham Gano added the extra point, and it was now a 7-point game with the score 14-7. But the Falcons would get on the board with a field goal in the second, as Matt Bryant hit a 28-yarder, and that put them back up by double digits with the score 17-7. That would be the only score for the Falcons in the second quarter. And then the Panthers added a field goal of their own as Graham Gano hit a 54-yarder to bring it back to a 7-point game, as the Falcons would lead this one 17-10 at the intermission. But then in the third, just like in the first, the Falcons score a pair of touchdowns. Matt Ryan hooked up with Austin Hooper for a 42-yard touchdown pass. That made it 24-10. And then Matt Ryan hooked up with Aldrick Robinson for a 35-yard touchdown, and it was 31-10. So the Falcons up by 21 points headed into the fourth quarter. Then Matt Bryant hit a 53-yard field goal, and so now it was 34-10. So the Falcons there, after starting off the game with 14 straight points, right here in this stretch they scored 17 straight points. But then the Panthers came right back, putting some points on the board. Cam Newton hit Kelvin Benjamin for a 6-yard touchdown. And then Newton went for the 2-point conversion. He converted the 2-point conversion to make it 34-18, but he would end up leaving the game due to concussion protocol, as it looked to be potentially a helmet-to-helmet. There was no flag on the play, but Cam Newton left the game. And this one, it was pretty well out of hand at this point anyway, although there was about 12 minutes left to play. But Derek Anderson came in, and he threw a pair of touchdowns. First, he hit Greg Olsen for a 14-yard touchdown pass. Olsen had been quiet most of the game. He didn't get his first catch, I believe, until the fourth quarter. But this one was for a touchdown. It wasn't his first catch, but it was for a touchdown. It was a spectacular catch by Olsen, too. He made some nice moves on the play, as there was a lot of excellent receiving in this game on both sides, as there were some spectacular touchdown catches earlier that I mentioned, but didn't quite get into the details of how spectacular those catches were. But anyway, Derek Anderson then hooked up with Olsen for the 2-point conversion, so that would be 8 points on the board, and it would be an 8-point game with the score 34-26. So right now it looked like maybe the Panthers might pull off the comeback and force overtime, but not so fast, as Matt Ryan hits Julio Jones just one play later, 75 yards for the touchdown. Julio Jones making some nice moves himself, and it was 41-26. So they push it back to a double-digit lead, up by 15 with less than 4 minutes left to play. Anderson threw his second touchdown after having come in relief of Cam Newton, as I had mentioned a moment ago. This one was to Corey Brown, also known as Philly Brown, a 16-yard touchdown pass, and it was now 41-33. But then, with the Panthers getting the ball back See, that touchdown came on the other side, the 2-minute warning with less than 2 minutes left. They did get the ball back, but Robert Alford with the pick six return at 30 yards for the touchdown. That made it 48-33. And then the Panthers got it back, obviously. And Robert Alford, another interception. So 2 interceptions for Robert Alford in the final 90 seconds of this game. And the final score, 48-33, is the Falcons. They win with a big score. And really, they were dominating this game, especially through the first 3 quarters of play. In the fourth, the Panthers made a push to try to come back. It wouldn't be enough. And Cam Newton, even without Cam in the game, Anderson did come in and throw those 2 touchdowns, but he also threw 2 interceptions. So I highly doubt there's any kind of controversy there. But you never know how they do. The quarterback controversies do get going, it seems, even in the most stable of situations. But I'll tell you who isn't going to have to worry about anybody breathing down his neck, and that's Matt Ryan, as he was well protected in this game. That was one thing the Falcons have been missing the last couple years, is offensive line protection for Matt Ryan. But when he gets protection, he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league, and he's got one of the best receivers, if not the best receiver, in Julio Jones. And I'll tell you, Julio Jones was definitely glad that Josh Norman wasn't out there. But Matt Ryan, 28 for 37, 503 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception. Devonta Freeman had 13 carries for 57 yards and a touchdown. He also had 2 catches for 7 yards receiving, giving him 64 total yards on the game. But Julio Jones, 12 receptions, 300 yards, and a touchdown. Huge game for Julio Jones. And for the Panthers, Cam Newton was 14 of 25 for 165 yards passing and 1 touchdown before leaving the game. He also had 5 carries for 30 yards on the ground to be the Panthers' leading rusher, as that was definitely something that was hurting them, not having that running attack. Derek Anderson in relief there in the fourth. He threw a lot of passes, 17 for 23, 172 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Of course, those 2 interceptions in the final 90 seconds of the game, both by Robert Alford, as he really shined in that closing time when it was clutch time. He shut the door. But Forrest Whitaker with 9 receptions for 86 yards. Greg Olsen, 6 receptions for 76 yards and a touchdown. Devin Funchess, 2 catches for 56 yards. Philly Brown, 5 catches, 48 yards and a touchdown. And Kelvin Benjamin, 3 catches, 39 yards and a touchdown. I'll tell you, all the offense, though, for the Falcons is all Matt Ryan to Julio Jones. But Robert Alford, as I mentioned numerous times now, 2 interceptions in this game. Dwight Freeney had a sack. And for the Panthers, Coleman had an interception. Short had a sack. And Love had a sack as well. First downs in this game, 25-20 in favor of Atlanta. On third down, the Falcons 8 for 13, 61% conversion rate for the Falcons. The Panthers 7-16, 43%. They did convert the 1 4th down that they attempted. I'll tell you, on third down, though, the Falcons kept moving the chains. The Panthers could not get them off the field. And total net yards, 571 for the Falcons, 378 for the Panthers. Of course, most of that coming through the air is Matt Ryan with a huge day, 500 yards passing. Those are big numbers. So when we look at the penalties in this game, 8 penalties against the Falcons for 77 yards, 6 penalties against the Panthers for 55 yards. No fumbles in this game. Then we look at the red zone, 2 for 3 for Atlanta, 66%. The Panthers, 3 for 3, 100% in the red zone. So there's one bright spot there that they were 100% in the red zone, so that's something to build off of right there. And then 33 minutes, 49 seconds time of possession for the Falcons, 26 minutes, 11 seconds for the Panthers. But a huge game for Atlanta at home. And this really is a game, if you want to win the division, this is the type of game you have to win if you're the Falcons at home against your division rival there in the NFC South. And of course, for the Panthers, it's rough now, 1-3. They definitely, like I said at the beginning, they're missing Josh Norman, and they're missing their running attack. The running attack's been pretty much non-existent. They got to get things going on the ground. As between Newton and Anderson, they ended up throwing the ball 48 times, and that's not good when you're only running the ball. Let's see, what was it? 15 times they ran the ball, so that's not balanced by a long shot. Whereas the Falcons, not really so much, not a lot of running, but they actually, they did run the ball 25 times. It's 10 more. But of course, Matt Ryan, he only threw the ball 37 times, which is a decent amount, but not too much. But look at the big production, of course. Julio Jones was just unstoppable in this game, just tearing it up. He was making some spectacular catches. They just could not cover Julio. And the defense of the Falcons has definitely stepped up this year, playing better. Their offensive line giving Matt Ryan some good protection against a really good Carolina defense. Even without Norman, they still have a really good defense there in Carolina. But the Falcons jumping out to a 3-1 start on the season. Things are looking good for the Falcons. They've been on the verge for a couple years, just needing a couple key pieces, and it looks like they finally got things together there in Atlanta. And it really was more about that offensive line. They had to solidify that line, and the way the line was playing today is definitely looking good moving forward, the way they've been playing really so far in the first month of the season. But let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Which plays and performances stuck out to you? Thank you very much for listening. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you had a good day and had a great weekend and enjoyed all the sports.